Hello and welcome to our interactive resource leadership training video. My name is Dan Simpson. I'm one of the neighborhood area pastors here at CCV, and I have the privilege of walking us through the characteristics of a healthy neighborhood group. Now, the video analogy that we want to use today to define what a true healthy group looks like is that of a fire. Now, when the right combination of ingredients come together, fire happens. And once that fire is ignited, it's an amazing source of power. It can provide heat for those that are cold. It can also be seen for miles and miles away and be a source of direction. What's great also about fire, though, is a fire can start another fire. Think about how we can utilize this in creating a healthy neighborhood group. As we look at the three key elements of a group on fire, it's important for us leaders to realize that it's our job to keep the balance of these elements, to keep that fire alive. Of course, the first element we're going to look at today is the wind element. This is the constant growth, or what I would say the gathering of kindling, to provide the oxygen to get that fire started. It's the relationship portion of our neighborhood group. Now, this relationship building portion is not just relationships within our group, but primarily actually focused on relationships outside of our group. Simply things like movie nights or game nights, or maybe even what we do here a lot is the outdoor barbecue on our front driveway. These type of activities are great activities to invite our neighbors to build those relationships, the so-called gather kindling to start a fire. If a group totally focuses on just relationship building, and there's no purpose given to that group, just like any fire with kindling only, will actually blow itself out and die. So let's go take a look at our second element, train, which is the fuel that we must add to this kindling to get this fire up and going. Now, the second aspect of the characteristics of a healthy neighborhood group is that of train. And train are basically the fuel of our group. These are the logs that we add to our kindling. This is where we dig into God's Word and we study it. Most of these studies are also focused not only around God's Word, but also God's Word and the message that we just got this weekend and how we can live that out and apply it in our lives. Training and studying is very important. But as in a fire, if all we do is pile log after log after log on top of that fire and never let that fire breathe or never add any more new kindling to it, that fire will actually suffocate and die. It just becomes literally a pile of logs. And it's the same thing when it comes to training and the training element in our group. If our group just simply trains and trains and studies and trains, yes, we're adding fuel to the fire. But literally, if that's all we're doing, we're just building a pile of logs. See, because knowledge without action is literally a pile of logs. It's dead. Let's make sure in our group we get our training. We dig deep into God's Word, but we also apply it. And that's what our third element is that applying part, the serving part, the heat that comes from a well-built fire. The third element of the characteristics of a neighborhood group is simply sin. And sin is a great element. This is the warmth or the heat of our group. And it comes in the form of actually serving. And it's not just serving each other in our group. It's actually taking our group and serving others outside our group, within our neighborhood. And these can be simple projects like cleaning up the local park, possibly going to the elementary school and seeing if they need those classrooms painted, maybe mowing the lawn or trimming the hedges of our neighbor next door. It also can be done very well through a thing called food tidings. When someone's ill or sick, it's a great act of service to show the love of Christ by providing simply food. Something like maybe some chicken noodle soup. Do you know that just giving food to someone makes a huge statement? It actually says, I'm giving you life. And that's what Christ came to do, is to give us life. And so The acts of service, or the send element of our neighborhood group, is so vital and so important for us to show the love of Christ out there in our neighborhood. But just like any fire, if all we're concentrating is on the heat that's coming off of it, then that fire will actually eventually burn out. If we don't add any new fresh kindling or any fuel to it, that heat will go away and become cold. And that's the same thing when a group is focused only on service. Eventually, we tend to burn out when only helping others. When we're not fueled well or given oxygen to ourselves, we can actually become bitter in our serving. And service without love is cold. As we've gone through all three of these elements, let's make sure that we put the balance of those elements together to create a healthy, good fire in our neighborhood group.
Well, I hope this video has been informative and a little entertaining. I hope it's given you some direction on how to apply the proper elements of a healthy neighborhood group to set your group on fire. But not only set your group on fire, sustain that fire and spread that fire. So let's go do that. Let's light our groups on fire. Let's set Phoenix ablaze for Christ. And let's go win this valley together for Him.